Hey, what's going on guys? Arekkz here, and today I want to talk about Destiny. What? Yo, it's been quite a while. If you go on the channel, you might see that it's been 8 months since my last Destiny video. That's quite a long time. Safe to say, I haven't been playing Destiny for a while. However, right, Destiny is one of those series that has always been and will always be close to my heart, right? I've been playing since Destiny 1 Alpha, and up until 8 months ago, I didn't miss anything. I played every expansion, I was there day one, I did everything like world first runs, world first races, all the kind of stuff like that. Everything there was to do in Destiny, I was always there, right? But then there came a point where, kind of 8 months ago, around Black Armory launch, it just didn't click with me anymore, right? I wasn't playing the game as much. I hit this point in Black Armory launch where, literally on day one, I hadn't played and I hadn't prepared enough beforehand, so I was already behind on power, and I was like, you know what? I don't have time for this right now. I play so many games. If you guys on this channel, you'll know that we cover a wide variety of games. I play a lot of games. I don't just play Destiny. And as a result of that, it got to the point where maybe this might not be the case. Maybe it might not necessarily be true, but it felt to me around Black Armory where, like, if I'm not playing this game every single day, I just can't keep up. And for that reason, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a break. I'm going to pull back and I'm going to see where this goes for a little bit. And that's kind of what I did for the past 8 months. I've been following it. Every time there's new updates, anytime there's new streams, new blog posts, I still read them. I've got so many friends in the Destiny community that of course I still stay up to date with. So for all intents and purposes, I've spent the last 8 months kind of watching from the sidelines, seeing Destiny evolve and waiting for my time to jump back in. And Shadowkeep is going to be that time. A lot of you guys have been asking me, I've been getting messages on Twitter and in comments like, are you ever going to come back and play Destiny? And yes, the answer is yes. I'm coming back for Shadowkeep. Quite whether that means I'll be making content, I don't know yet, right? I'm making this video because I want to talk about what it is that's bringing me back for Shadowkeep, because if any of you guys are, say, lapsed players, and you might be like, what's the reason to come back? Is there anything new? Is there any kind of reasons I should be excited about it? Then I thought I'd talk about my reasons that have kind of piqued my interest and kind of made me decide that now is a good time to jump back in. And of course, if I then end up enjoying the game, playing it a lot, maybe I'll do more content. Am I ever going to get to the point where I start doing like weekly vendor resets and weekly Zero videos? Probably not. I feel like if I'm going to do any content, it'll probably be slightly more, focused or about stuff that I'm enjoying. But ultimately, on this channel, I play games and I cover games that I enjoy. If I'm playing them, there'll be videos. If I stop playing them, there won't be videos. I'm not going to cover a game that I'm not playing. So, transparency, that's where I'm at. But Shadowkeep, right, there's of course been a lot of discussion recently. There have been some director cuts from Luke Smith, lots of blog posts talking about Destiny's history, talking about the changes, talking about some of the stuff they're introducing. There have been some new trailers, there's some Gamescom trailers, and some of the stuff that I've been seeing is genuinely pretty exciting. So let's start there. Of course, first things first, this isn't kind of necessarily a reason that I'm coming back because I'm already an existing Destiny player with all the, previous expansions, but for those of you that perhaps have missed it for quite some time, the game is also going free to play, at least everything pre-Shadowkeep. On October 1st, what they're basically going to be doing is the base Destiny 2 game with all the expansions, so Curse of Osiris, Warmind, all planets will be available for patrol purposes, including the moon, and that also means you'll have access to Year 1 raids, so Leviathan, Eater of Worlds, Spire of Stars. You'll also have full access to Gambit, and any updates that come to the game that aren't part of the annual pass or the Shadowkeep update will also be rolled into that. So if any of you guys are like, I haven't played Destiny for a long time, or maybe you didn't even play Destiny 2, then there will be a free entry point for you starting October 1st, giving you a chance to catch up. And also, part of the reason that I am jumping back in is because there is I think they're calling it the First Light, which is basically a way to boost yourself up to Shadowkeep ready. So you can either just jump in free to play and run through all the content and experience it, but let's be honest, Curse of Osiris, Warmind, they weren't the greatest expansions. Curse of Osiris we tend not to talk about. Warmind, there are a couple of cool aspects, but honestly, if you're jumping back into Destiny 2, I'd recommend just skipping that stuff, get to the new stuff. That's where everyone wants to be. Point is, there's a First Light boost, and I plan to take full advantage of that because having not played for 8 months, I am massively behind. And with Monster Hunter World Iceborne coming out, Borderlands 3 coming out, Zelda Link's Awakening, Code Vein, Astral Chain, Gears of War, I don't have time to go back, alright, and catch up in power level. So I fully intend to use the light boost to get me ready for Shadowkeep so I can just dive in, play with my friends, and enjoy what's new. So with that being said, that then turns our attention to Shadowkeep. Because for those of you guys that are listening to this and like, oh cool, there's a free-to-play entry, that gets you up to Shadowkeep. But of course, if you want to then go beyond that point, you will have to by Shadowkeep. That is kind of how they're doing it. The base model will now be your free-to-play entry point, and from that point onwards, you can then decide if you want to buy Shadowkeep. That is the new expansion. That'll send us back to the moon. That'll, of course, send us with a, there'll be a new raid, new story missions, all the kind of new stuff you would expect from an expansion. And one of the things that excites me the most is the new armor system. Now, back in the day, of course, Destiny's gone through various ups and downs, various tweaks, various changes for, armor systems. Sometimes it was slightly more in depth. Sometimes it was a lot less in depth. Got to the point where it was super basic for one point, and they're trying to bring back some of the RPG elements, but they're trying to give people more customization options. And this is really cool, right? Because it might not necessarily be their inspiration for it, but when I saw this new armor system, I was like, that kind of reminds me of Monster Hunter. Because here's how it works. The new armor pieces, now they have an energy bar, right? So basically you level up an energy bar, and this is different to Monster Hunter, but basically you level up an energy bar, and each piece of armor has a cost, and you can then put you can put mods, which are akin to decorations, mods into your armor, and those mods come in different sizes. There might be like 1, 2, 3, or 4, and depending on the size, they consume some of your energy bar. So if you're a Monster Hunter player, you can liken this to having like a level 1, 2, 3, or 4 slot in your armor. You put a decoration in, and of course, if it fits that size, then you kind of take up that gap. So you then get to the point where you're no longer getting armor pieces where you're like, oh, yo, that armor looks really cool, but it's got rubbish stats. I guess I'm going to have to go back and use something rubbish again. Now you have a lot more control, like complete control over how your armor works. Armor does have elemental types, so you can only put, say for example, if you've got some void armor, you can only put void or non-elemental mods in. You can't put like a solar mod in. So there's still some kind of puzzle work, some like permutations and whatnot, but generally speaking, you have control over what goes into your armor slots. So you can now build your armor around you, which again, as a Monster Hunter player, is akin to saying like, I use a greatsword, so I'm going to spec in greatsword specific, talents or skills, things that I care about, things that will actually improve my build. So from that purposes, it now means that I could be like, yo, this is a really cool looking Shadowkeep armor set, but I don't care about half of these gunslinger skills. I want to go and use something else, or basically in that idea. The idea is that you have control of your armor. You can customize it, you can tweak things, and you can also level up the energy bar. Every single piece of armor can go from level 1 to 10, so you can get to the point where you basically have 10 slots. Not actual slots, but 10 capacity. You'll then have 3 slots, but you can then tweak that, and of course the better mods will cost more, so you can then, farm those, and once you get those mods, they're not consumed, so you can then basically find a really good mod, be like, yo, this is a perfect hand cannon mod, and just hold on to it, and put it into any piece of armor that you like, provided of course the mod's element matches. So on the armor front, we now go to the position where for a while it kind of frustrated me, because in Destiny 2 it got to the point where I was like, well, a lot of armor that I like the look of doesn't really have the stats that I want, or I don't necessarily, didn't really have any control over how I could upgrade it. It was just kind of, it's dropped, it's rolled for me, I'll kind of keep it as it is and, run with it. But now there's a lot more control. There's definitely a lot more of that kind of min-maxing element where, if you don't want to use it, you don't necessarily have to a degree. You can kind of just throw a few things in. But if you are really one of those people that does like to end game start min-maxing and really start tweaking your build, then you can actually have a lot more flexibility, because of course it also changes the stats on the front screen. There's a few more stats to mess around with now, and when you hover over them, you can see the breakdown of those stats. You can sort of see that when you hit different tiers, you of course get all the bonuses. So there's definitely more of the RPG element. I think that's one of the important things they're trying to do. They're trying to find this balance between, obviously not going too deep down the rabbit hole, but they are trying to bring back in those RPG elements. So for the players that do really want that experience, because, Luke Smith being at the helm and whatnot, he's a big WoW player, right? So it's obvious. He loves his RPG stuff, and you can see elements of that kind of gradually working back into Destiny, and honestly, I think that's really cool. So the armor system is probably one of the things that I'm most excited about. That is something that I can definitely see myself messing around with, and that also kind of sets up the potential for like different builds, different ways to actually not just say, hey, here's your gunslinger build and pick this tree and, you're basically good to go. Now it can be like, yo, you want this suite of mods, you want all of this, and this can kind of give you a recharge. There's a lot of cool stuff to do, right? So maybe if it ends up being that way, maybe there could be some videos on that. That could be kind of fun. Next thing are the finishers. This is really cool. This is kind of like fighting game super moves. Maybe not quite that over the top. Maybe I'm being a little bit generous there, but basically they've introduced new finishers. So when you're playing as your Guardian, you can be fighting enemies and they'll get to the state where they are nearly dead and they'll basically be flashing, and you can kind of use this as a stylish finisher. You can activate your finisher, and there's obviously a different finisher for each of the classes. I'm not entirely sure. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not entirely sure if there's one per subclass or if it's just one per class. Either way, you then have a finisher, this flashy move where you will, like the Titan basically just jumps and kicks a flipping ogre in the face, and like the hunter does like a cool flip, and the warlock, nobody really cares about warlocks, so whatever. anyway, right, you do like these really cool finishing moves, and you can then also enhance them because you can link those to upgrades. So it can be something like if you perform a finisher on this enemy, you drop heavy ammo. So suddenly they don't just become these cool things you can do just to look cool. They actually have genuine in-game benefits. So you can get to the point where you're like, all right, save a little bit of ammo, run in, do something stylish. Oh look, I've got some heavy ammo. That's kind of cool. But honestly, anything like that where you have those, because that kind of reminds me of like action games, right? You might play something like Devil May Cry, or I'm trying to think of other action games off the top of my head, and I've weirdly drawn a massive blank. Point is, other games where, say, you might have an enemy where they're very near to defeat, and suddenly when you get to the position, like it's when I was playing Marvel's Avengers, or when I was playing like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, enemies will be super close to finishing, and then you can kind of press two buttons together, go into a finishing move, looks kind of cool. It's just a way to kind of round out the combat. So that, honestly, is something I'm also pretty excited about. Of course, on top of that, the usual kind of stuff I'm always excited about when there's new expansions is, of course, destinations. Technically speaking, it's not a new destination, we're going back to the moon, but the moon was always a cool place, and of course there will be new stuff to do there. Anytime there's a new raid, raiding is honestly the thing that I've always loved the most in Destiny. Even though we haven't necessarily won any World First races, we got kind of close back in Taken King days, but just being there day one, going into raids blind, honestly some of the most fun gaming experiences I've had, just because going in there with a team and just trying to work it out blind and solving puzzles and stuff, it's a really enjoyable experience. So I have missed a couple of raids since then because of course I have been a lapsed player, but now I'm looking forward to jumping back in, and I appreciate I'm probably going to be a bit behind because obviously I haven't got all the gear, I haven't got, I've missed out on so many exotics, I've missed out on quite a lot of stuff, and if I'm going to be boosting my character, I'm probably going to be quite underprepared. But I don't care, right? I still want to go in, have some fun with it, and just see where it goes. So obviously all the new content in Shadowkeep, but beyond that point, I think it's one of those things where when they first revealed Shadowkeep, right, I've been following it, and, I said the reason I didn't make a video earlier is because when I first saw the initial reveal, I was like, there's some cool stuff there, but initially they didn't grab me. I wasn't initially like, yo, I'm here for Shadowkeep. I was like, okay, I'm listening, but tell me more. And then obviously as they've revealed more, I've been slightly more interested, but in truth, I'm kind of more interested just to sort of see what happens beyond Shadowkeep. Obviously, Destiny is an ever-evolving game. They spoke in the kind of director's cuts about some of the stuff they plan to do inside Shadowkeep and moving forward. They have some like evolving world things they want to do where, in the past we've seen the concept of evolving worlds where like each week something changes, but then it kind of works around a cycle and then just resets. But they plan to do some stuff now where genuinely throughout a season, things will change, and you get to the point where at the end of a season, you will actually have something that does resolve itself. It'll finish, there'll be things to pursue throughout this time, and then that will lead into the next season. So there will actually be kind of more of a progression this time around where you actually have something that can disappear, you can miss out on, which I appreciate from some people's point of view. You might be like, I don't like that because if I'm working, if I'm busy, I miss it, that kind of sucks. But from the prospect of like an evolving world and actually having a world that does change and those changes mean something, that's quite interesting to see how it pans out. They did say they'll probably have ways for you to kind of pick up things you've missed, but the concept of just like constantly moving forwards is something I'm interested to see. And of course then beyond that point, it's like, where does Destiny go after this? That's the journey that I want to be a part of. So yeah, there are a few things that I'm so excited for. New armor system's really cool, finishing moves really cool, obviously the new Shadowkeep content, free to play if you guys haven't jumped into it, so it's a chance to jump back in, and that's kind of it. So yeah, that's my ramblings on why I am going to be jumping back in for Shadowkeep. I'm so glad, I'm actually really glad that they did push it back a couple of weeks. Normally when it comes to delays, everyone's like, oh no way, but I was like, you know what, kind of helps me out, because if I had to play Shadowkeep 2 days after Borderlands 3 and Monster Hunter World, whew, that wasn't going to happen. So yeah, I'm jumping back in for Shadowkeep. Again, as mentioned, don't know yet exactly what videos I'm making. If I enjoy the game, if I get back into it and I'm playing it regularly, there'll probably be some videos on the channel. If not, who knows? Anyway, that's it. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Are you jumping back into Shadowkeep? Have you been playing all this time? Are you, maybe using this as a means to, get in for the first time? Let me know if you guys got any questions or if there's anything you want to know. Then, of course, drop that down below. But otherwise, keep it locked for plenty more. I really hope you guys enjoyed that video. Remember to hit that subscribe button and also click on the little bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss my next upload. Also, don't forget, you can check out 269 and Paradise Central streaming over on Twitch 6 days a week. You can find a link to the multi-stream in the description box down below. Be sure to drop by and get involved. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.